Well, ahead of her speech to the Commons this afternoon, Theresa May has been speaking at a lunch for the Conservative Friends of Israel. Now, this is a tweet from the executive editor of Conservative Home, Mark Wallace, who attended the lunch. It shows a transcript of the Prime Minister's speech, and what's striking is Theresa May says, if the deal is rejected, none other will miraculously appear. The choice would be between no Brexit at all and a no-deal Brexit. Well, you've read his words. Let's hear from the man. Mark Wallace is here with me now.
Good afternoon.
How much authority does she now have?
Well, I think we can judge that by the fact that still nobody quite knows what's going to happen to her own plans tomorrow, never mind over the course of the next 4 crucial months. And even in her speech at Conservative Friends of Israel today, there were some contradictions in there. She said, this is the best deal available. No, as you just said, no other one will materialise. Implication, she won't renegotiate. But she also said she realises she needs to reassure her colleagues and she needs to work out what she can do to win them over.
So what's happened in the last few hours for her to make the decision that we're expecting, which is delay the vote?
Well, evidently, this creeping of numbers we've seen over the last 2 weeks, what was meant to be a great tour around the country to persuade everyone, to put pressure on via the voters, to persuade Tory MPs to row into line, simply has not worked. We've been ticking those numbers up, as have all media outlets, 60, 70, 80 Conservative MPs saying they'll vote against or they won't support it. And at that point, a Prime Minister starts to think, well, what possibly happens when I bring this forward?
So what about the 1922 committee? What about Sir Graham Brady? What about those letters? Are there now Conservative MPs saying, right, this is the moment, we need to think about a new leader?
There are certainly some who are holding off potentially for that vote, which is one reason why Downing Street may be looking to put it back. But I asked one Conservative MP at the Conservative Friends of Israel lunch just now, have you sent in your letter? There's somebody normally quite loyal. I was half joking when I asked him, and he said, oh, no, I don't need to. There'll be plenty of others.
Really?
And so that has the other weird, and everything gets weirder in 2018, the other weird possibility that she could end up surviving because Conservative MPs assume that somebody else is going to do the dirty work.
Also, that 48 letters is only part of that battle because there then needs to be a vote here, doesn't there?
Indeed. Well, the first thing that happens is you get the 48 letters in to trigger the process, and then there would need to be a question of a confidence vote. Even then, there are still all sorts of peculiar questions that we've never tried out in this country. The Fixed Term Parliaments Act that was introduced by the Coalition, a horrendous bit of messing with our constitution, hasn't really been properly tried out to find out what actually happens. Could somebody stay on as Prime Minister while ceasing to be a party leader, for example?
We've heard from Leo Varadkar, who says the deal is the deal. He's very much singing the EU tune. Of course he is. But is it all about the backstop? Is that the one problem that Theresa May has that she just cannot get round?
Well, the backstop's become the crushing, overriding issue. It's fair to say there's a lot of unhappiness among Tories, but also among other Leave voters as well, about £39 billion being handed over before we've even got a future relationship trade deal. The idea of the European Court of Justice potentially still having some say over various aspects of law in these islands. And that is something which is hugely controversial, and the feeling of a lot of Conservatives does breach things that the Prime Minister promised she would not.
How much time do you think she can buy this afternoon? Because that's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Well, what we need to find out is how she's going to square that circle. If this deal cannot be reopened, as she claims, but she needs to reassure her colleagues, as she acknowledges, how can you possibly do that? The only thing I can imagine would be going to Brussels and asking them for a reassurance. The problem is no Eurosceptic trusts Brussels' promises. We've seen them broken in the past. And also, there's no worse look for a British Prime Minister than coming back from anywhere but anywhere, waving a bit of paper.
Well, Wallace, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.